All right, let's talk about power supplies. This power supply business is probably one of the trickier things to talk about, and I think because I've been on both sides of the fence. When I was dirt broke and had nothing, I'd use the cheapest freaking power supplies I could find, and I don't really remember ever having a problem. And then on the other hand, now I've got a fancier setup, and I've got 4 hard drives and all this stuff going on, and I've bought a nicer one, and I'm not having problems either. And so it's one of those things where a lot of old pros and computer nerds and all this stuff will tell you, don't skimp on the power supply and get you something good that'll last. And especially now with us guys who are going to be having 3 or 4 hard drives going at once, and maybe a UAD card, or who knows what else is hooked to the thing, power and a MIDI interface. I mean, all these things add up. It can get a little bit tricky. So, and on the other hand, noise is a huge, huge issue for a lot of us. Now, I keep my computers out of this room, and I have them in another room. There's kind of an open room I don't really use for anything. And so I just have USB extension cords and HDMI extension cords and long ADAT cables, unfortunately, too, for my situation. But, and I keep that computer, whoa, smashed my, well, sorry. So I keep my computer out of the room, and that solves my noise problems almost entirely. So it takes a lot of pressure off the noise factor. Now, for you guys who are going to have a computer 3 feet from your foot or your whatever, the noise thing becomes a much bigger deal, and it could very well be worth paying an extra $50 or whatever to get something that's quite a bit more silent. If you can knock 3, 5, 10 decibels off of your noise floor when you're recording that one voice over an acoustic guitar, it may be worth it to you. It may even save the session. So what I'm kind of thinking here is that anyone who's can't move their computer to a closet or some other space where it would be isolated naturally, they should probably consider putting quite a bit more cash into their power supply just to get something that's more quiet. On the other hand, those of you who are, and also those of you who just are concerned about hooking tons of stuff up and just kind of want to do the job right. If you want to do the job right, then I probably would spend a little bit more money here, even though I don't know if I can entirely rationalize it. It just seems logical. I don't know if it is. If it's one of those kind of deals. And then for those of you who are really on a tight budget, and especially if you can put that computer in a closet, you don't need to spend $1 million, it seems. And I do recommend going with a company that's well known and good reviews. That's kind of a given. But let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. When you go to the motherboard, or the power supply section, so you'll see a $50 one. Okay, what does that do? And it gets 4 out of 5 eggs. All right, that's not bad. And then we jump up to $144, $174, then down to $30. There's a really wide variety of highly regarded power supplies, and there's no real great way to tell what a good one is. I mean, why would this Roswell, which has gotten 356 reviews and as a 5 egg rating, only $30. So they've got a winning product. It looks like there. Now, it's probably noisy, I'm guessing, if I just had to take a guess. And they don't have good numbers, good ways to rate these things. Now, they do have this 80-plus business, which is 80% efficiency. And the higher you go up with that, the better you get in terms of this power supply's ability to convert electricity into power for your computer and not into heat. Now, so looking at some of those ratings can probably be a little bit helpful. But on the other hand, the efficiency of the thing does help for sure, but the size of the fan is another big one. And you'll see right here, this Cooler Master has a, where is it? I just saw it. 100 and, well, let's look at it. See, the 80 millimeter fans I would avoid if we're concerned at all about quietness, because itty bitty fans have to spin at a faster RPM. These guys that are more efficient, and it'll tell us here in the details, I'm sure. Okay, that's a 120 millimeter ultra silent fan, which means nothing to me. So that's not bad, and it says it's ultra silent. I mean, they're marketing in that way, but I don't see any rating for it. And there isn't one that I know of for power supplies. There are for heat sinks, and we'll get into that too. But my advice, if you keep looking here, like you see this Antec, $40, it's a 450 watt power supply. And let's talk about that just a little bit. As we go further and further into these computer things, and people are hooking more and more things to them, our needs for greater wattage increases. And I remember 10 years ago, a 300 watt power supply was fine. You could do anything you wanted with that. Well, now you're starting to see 850 watts, 750 watts, 1,000 watts. So they're going up and up and up. And I think I have a 600 watt power supply on mine, and I don't know how much watts I'm really pulling. And I got this sneaking suspicion of just about anybody alive who doesn't really care about noise at all, just without even looking, this Antec, which is a really good brand, really 5 egg rating, based on the people who bought it, would probably work for everybody. And so if I didn't care about noise, I'd probably just buy that right now. Now, if I'm more concerned with noise, it makes you start to wonder, well, do I need to buy into something that's marketed quiet, quiet, quiet? You see that all over the place. Cooling silencer, and it gets real tricky. And then there's only so much science that can make a spinning fan quiet that we know of at the moment, as far as I'm concerned. And so for me, I want the biggest fan I can stand. And going with a good brand is a good help. And a good brand that people have given a high rating to, when it says silent, the name helps. But the best way to find out for sure is to click on it and start reading the reviews one-on-one. Okay, like this guy's truly silent. Now, he might be in some ultra dead room and all this business. Sometimes certain conditions, his computer might be 40 feet away. You know how that stuff goes. You never really can totally trust these guys. But if enough people say it, the same things, then it may be worth looking at. So I would read quite a few reviews on this if quiet is an issue. And the standard for power supplies hasn't changed much in the past few years. They're all using the same basic connectors, or they've given the option. And in the old days, you had to be very careful about buying the wrong one. Now they include all the cables and stuff. Like you can see, they got like 8 different stupid cables in there. So you're probably covered. So I would be looking around quite a bit, and I got a feeling there is a truly silent, or close to it, power supply where all the reviewers have really liked it and said it's super, super quiet, and probably for $60. So this happens to be a really good one, and it's got the the 80 plus gold rating, so it's doing really good in the efficiency department. But I would search around. I don't like spending $160 on a power supply. I mean, if you have the budget for it, well, just go for it. I'm sure this right here is probably just a great one. It's not even worth thinking about. So for me, I know I can skimp on the volume. If I can get an extra 6 decibels on my computer, and won't hurt me any because it's isolated. Now, so I could probably just go with. Well, see, I wouldn't go with this because it's only got a 4 out of 5. And I would definitely wouldn't go with one with an 80 millimeter fan, because not only is that an issue of decibels, it's an issue of pitch. And when we crank up the RPMs to get that 80 millimeter fan to cool like a 130 millimeter fan would do, we're moving up into the audible range. And a little bit of like, that does something. But when it goes, that does something else entirely. So no, definitely no 80 millimeter fans for me, no matter what, no matter how isolated my setup is. But I'd probably take a gander. Where was that? Let's see, what's that? I'd take a look around and find there was that one for $40, Antec. Yeah, let's see what this guy was doing. See, he looks like he has a giant fan. Let's see. And that giant fan doesn't guarantee anything either, but I don't know. So for me, a name brand that's gotten great reviews and has plenty of wattage, which I think 450 is probably enough for anything I'm going to do. I'm just guessing. I'm just pulling that out of my rear, but maybe spending $60 and getting that number up might help a little bit. I don't know, but it really depends on your situation. But if you know you're going to be putting lots of hard drives into the thing and lots of other devices, then definitely spend more for the wattage. And if you need a quieter computer, spend more for quiet. All right, guys, out.